Hello and welcome to Not to Get Political, the podcast where we delve into the world of politics and hope to remain unscathed. Today, joined with me on what feels like the wettest day of the year, is Pete, creator of the Non-Stick Pans. Pete, how are you?
I'm great, Harry. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Well, weather's a bit shit.
It is, yeah, it's monsoon weather. I think our hair's handling it well.
Yeah, no, I love your hair, by the way.
You too, likewise.
Thank you. No, I feel like it's just beautiful. What do you use?
What do I use for my hair? Oxygen, water, and occasionally a bit of something called souffle.
Souffle?
Yeah.
So,
Not like the egg dish.
wait, so what does it look like?
It's kind of like a paste, but
Right.
it's quite it's not like a firm
like a
hold.
clay
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah.
All right, okay. I like that I can talk hair with people because like no one has as good hair as mine, and I'm willing to die by that statement. So let's just get into what you do. How did you get into doing music?
I guess I've always kind of been into music. I don't come from a particularly musical family. My dad was a doctor, my mum was a dentist.
Okay.
But my brother was a musician, and my mum loved music. My mum sang. And I kind of grew up around my mum was in like this jukebox cover band.
Okay.
And so she would sing all the golden oldies like Elton John and the Beatles.
Right.
And as a result of that, I kind of grew up with that music. My brother trained at the RNCM, Royal Northern College of Music, and he studied choral music and the organ. So I had an eclectic kind of upbringing with all this different type of music around the house. And I got into rock music.
Right.
Much to the dismay of my mum.
So how did you get into rock music?
You know what? Weirdly, I think I can attribute Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for that, which is a Sonic game where they had a very rock themed. It's a great soundtrack. It's a really good soundtrack. I can recommend listening to it. But it took from there, and I got into the Beatles massively, and I kind of started writing my own stuff and recording lots of little demos and things like that.
What's it like recording rock music? Because I feel like it's one of those things that when you record it, like when you listen to it, it sounds amazing, but actually like producing it and you kind of listen and you're going like, I feel really tragic or something like that. How does it?
It's tricky. It's tricky. Especially when you're like the demo stage and it's you in your little bedroom with a tiny little laptop and you're there sort of like hunched against waiting for the neighbors to be quiet. But it's all right. It was always weird for me because I sort of growing up always wanted to work with a band. And it just never happened in the way that I wanted it to. You sort of expected to meet the right people at the right time. You'd meet a drummer, you'd meet a bass player, you'd meet a really good lead guitarist. And it just never happened. And it got to the stage where it's like, well, I've got all these demos recorded and there's nothing I can do with them. I'll just do it myself. So I worked with my brother, the musician, incredible musician, and we produced my first album. And that sort of kick-started my music career.
So let's talk about your music. The song that really stood out to me, I was listening to it the other day, is Man Up Man.
Man Up Man, yeah.
Which I think was so cool. How did that come about?
So Man Up Man is my sort of bouncy piano ballad about toxic masculinity.
Oh, isn't that topical?
Yeah, absolutely. But I was sort of inspired by songs like of 60s groups like The Zombies and the Beatles and the Beach Boys. My brother helped write this incredible string arrangement at the end of the piece as well.
No, I really liked it. I think it kind of really sort of stood out to me listening to your music. That was a song that sort of stood out to me. With toxic masculinity, like where do you think a lot of these issues sort of come from? And do you feel the challenges?
100%. It's difficult to say because there's so much of an external influence. It's just expectations on men, what they're expected to do, how they're expected to act, how they're expected to act in relation to other men, how they're expected to act in relation to other women, holding things close to you, not being allowed to express feelings. When you're not allowed to express any emotion, what normally comes out is anger. And that is the one acceptable emotion for men to feel, is anger for whatever reason, because it's brooding and it's deep. We're allowed to be angry because it's passion and it's just not healthy.
No, definitely not. Actually, speaking of what you were just talking about just now, kind of reminds me of the whole sort of theme behind the Barbie film. Yeah. Now, obviously, I don't know if you guys have seen this who are listening, but you should watch it. You did a parody of I'm Just Ken called I'm Just Keir.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, I guess it fits in with the phonetics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it was... I loved that film, by the way. The Barbie movie is absolutely fantastic. It was so funny. And I figured it would just make a really good parody.
No, it definitely did. And it was definitely well received. So, I mean, like with Starmer, it just feels like you don't rate him, you don't like him. Doing a parody song as a piss take, that's what gave me that impression.
I think it sort of if I mock Starmer, it's only because I want him to be a good leader. And I think it's really difficult to take his policies and pledges at face value when he keeps U-turning on them. And it's equally frustrating that this current iteration of the Labour Party aren't offering a viable alternative to the Tory party, whether that be taxing the 1%, whether that be policies on Brexit, even crucial issues like trans rights. They're being beaten to the post by Theresa May, and it's embarrassing. And it's like when they say things, they keep things vague. Like if they say, we want to introduce AI into the world of NHS, I've been speaking about how AI, I think, is like a marketing buzzword recently. But what does that mean, including AI with the NHS? Does it mean drug research? Does it mean replacing GPs? Because it's just not clear at all. Yeah.
So what do you think Labour could do to provide a viable alternative?
I think right now the country is in a really broken down, sad phase, and they could offer real change, and it would help. It would help to just actually be an opposition. And, when it comes down to it, they are the only viable option. I think the best thing we can really hope for, what I'm hoping for, is a progressive alliance where they bring in proportional representation without a referendum.
What do you think is the significance of music within politics?
It makes it accessible, I think. I think politics and comedy makes... using it in music and comedy makes it accessible and makes it understandable for a lot of people because it distills down the point. It's like being the kid that points out the emperor's not wearing clothes. When you get the base points, people can understand it. Because I think there's so much I'm often surprised by how few people vote.
Yeah.
Compared to the general populace. And it should be deeply concerning. I think people aren't concerned with politics, but politics is in everything. We should be concerned. We should be kept informed about what's going on.
I guess there's always that thing, people don't want things to get political, which is why we named the podcast Not to Get Political.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of being as like kind of fence sitting,
yeah.
I suppose, in a way, this sort of feeling of, I don't want to say anything too out there. But as you said, with voter turnout, I think last election was 67%, which is fucking low when you consider what was kind of on the line at that last election.
Exactly. And I think being apolitical is a political choice. It comes from a real sort of privileged position to choose not to. It won't affect me. It's fine. And it's like, it will affect you, and it is affecting loads of people right now.
I guess that was always the thing in 2019. A lot of people voted Conservative, thinking they'd be ruining other people's lives.
Exactly.
And well, look where we are now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do impressions, right?
I do. Yeah.
You do impressions. I'd like you to do a few. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
So, first thing I want you to do is Kier Starmer getting a meal deal.
A meal deal. Okay. So you're telling me that I could have this sausage, bean and cheese slice with this Coca-Cola for just £3? Well, that's a fantastic bargain, I have to say.
I like that. That's a good one. Let's do Rishi Sunak paying for something with contactless.
Oh, Sunak is hard.
Sunak's hard. Right,
Yeah.
should we do Boris with contactless then, or do you want to try Sunak?
Should we Boris with contact? Okay, so how was Boris? See, Johnson's very low. I can't get the thing to work. It's not no card decline. What is it? Forgive me. No. Try it on there. Do you take Amex?
Let's do. I think King Charles is in the kind of in the conversation at the moment because he's currently in France, which feels really ironic.
Yeah.
Like, him addressing the French Parliament. I'm like, what? So you guys got rid of your king. Let's think. King Charles dealing with a Republican, as in, just to be clear, like, doesn't believe that we should have an unelected head of state, not someone that doesn't believe that women deserve rights. Always good to specify when you say that you're a Republican.
It's such a wide curve, isn't it?
Yeah.
Charles is sort of here, isn't he? It's sort of, you would think that, wouldn't you? Yeah.
What's your best moment on stage?
I think for me, my best moment on stage was doing a school production of Les Mis, where I played Gavroche, and I just moved to that school, and my dad had just had his first heart attack, so I was quite depressed about it, and kids being kids didn't really understand mental health in the late 2000s, so there was no empathy, there was just relentless bullying. I was the depressed kid, and it wasn't until I did this kind of performance that they saw there was kind of more to me, And overnight, their attitude changed towards me, and it gave me confidence in myself. And anytime anyone kind of bullied me or said something to me, I would deflate it with humour, and it became my kind of defence mechanism. But like, it's so important to do drama in schools. It's so important,
100%.
Especially when the arts is being phased out, and it's like it's so important.
I think, I completely share that sentiment. Growing up, I was a really anxious child, and I definitely think doing drama and performing arts, it really gave me confidence, even though I don't do it now. It's the skills that I've learned that I've now been able to transfer into doing stuff on TikTok, just speaking to people in general. Because like a lot of it was like improvisation, and I think definitely in very social circumstances, having the ability to make conversation with anybody and about anything, not just be going, what football team do you support? And then just going from there. It's so important.
It's a legitimate skill.
And what's your worst moment on stage?
Worst moment on stage? Probably in that same production. My clothes got caught on a piece of furniture backstage, and I was supposed to be on, and I was singing whilst and I had to eventually rip my shirt completely on the thing it was stuck on, and just run on like, meant to come on then.
It's very like a Madonna at the Brits.
Yes, exactly.
Just not falling down a flight of stairs though. I remember watching that in real time, and just kind of, I think everyone was going, was that part of it? That wasn't part of it.
Wasn't a stunt.
That was, and then she did the that interview with Jonathan Ross. And speaking of Jonathan Ross, he is currently in the news in relation to Russell Brand.
Certain Russell Brand, yeah.
What do you make of all of that?
I think it's, well, first of all, my empathy goes out to any victims of sexual abuse, first and foremost. And I think it's, a lot of people have been sort of hypothesizing that Russell Brand's bizarre turn to the kind of new age, alt-right conspiracy thing was calculated in a way that he was able to kind of garner support from a kind of well-influenced audience to think that it's some kind of weird deep state conspiracy. It is bizarre if that's the case, because he's currently, I think, seeking help from defamation lawyers who work for the government and the royal family. So, the global elite.
Definitely. It is quite funny, this sort of, as you said, like this new age sort of alt-right who are very much anti-establishment, yet are very much part of the establishment. And this is what's ironic with someone like Russell Brand, is that he sort of presents himself as being very anti-establishment, yet, as you've said, he's using defamation lawyers. Also, he's worked for the BBC and Channel 4, which are kind of big in within the sort of media establishment. I know Channel 4 is seen as being a little bit edgy in the 90s, but now is very much established. And also the fact that he was using expensive lawyers to allegedly silence people, basically using a lot of complicated legal jargon to keep them bogged down. And again, his employers protecting him allegedly for a long period of time. This is classic establishment tactics. This is stuff that these people thrive and rely on. And yet, no, apparently because he, mentions George Soros a handful of times, suddenly he's anti-establishment.
It's very PR, isn't it?
No, I think with a lot of this sort of thing, and mentioning he's built up this audience, and people are saying that it's calculated. Do you think that Russell Brand is actually right-wing or believes a lot of the stuff that he's talking about?
Funnily enough, I don't think a lot of people on that kind of hemisphere are actually right-wing. I don't think they believe it at all. I think they've made it into a business. I don't really think Katie Hopkins believes in a lot of things she's saying. It drums up controversy, and it's this horrible sort of state we're in with the media, where the most controversial stories are the ones that pick up the most pace, the most interest, and make the most money, and that's where we're at.
It is kind of, that sort of outrage culture. The whole facts don't care about your feelings, feminist wrecked compilations.
Exactly.
Who that's being mainly targeted to, I think, like young age. I don't know if you saw that clip of Sneeko speaking with
these kids.
Those kids. That shocked me. Like, I don't know if you've found that. Have you ever been recognised in public? And the interactions that you've had, have they been like very positive?
Yeah, mostly positive. Yeah.
Can you imagine like having that sort of interaction if you met someone who liked your stuff and they were a complete pillar? And you were like, oh my God, is that the person that I sort of attract? It would make you rethink things. And yet you see someone like, I could kind of see that with Sneeko to a certain extent.
I mean, you'd hope he would have some kind of moral revelation. I suspect he won't for a while.
No, I mean, the irony of a 11, 12-year-old shouting fuck women when it's their mum that's probably taken them to go see this guy. It's just like...
No, exactly. But it is, because I'm thinking about this, I don't think Donald Trump is a particularly strong Christian. No. I don't think he really believes in all that. Would someone who paid to have sex with a porn star really want to sort of emphasize Christian values.
No, it's like things with Trump as well. I feel like when it comes to like immigration and racism, like his heart's definitely in it. But with like transphobia, I can just tell like he's just not really.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. He's just kind of like talking about like people. Ron DeSantis using the term woke all the time.
Yeah,
and he's like, it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Like you've lost the meaning. Can we do it? Can we have a Trump impression?
So Trump lives sort of back here, very low, and I think the trick is sometimes he shouts like this. I look. He'll say, you know, beautiful people, lots of people. It's sort of there.
I like it. With actually similar with Trump brand to a certain extent. This idea of like having this very like group of strong core group of supporters who don't trust what the mainstream media says because that's what they've been brought up. The type of people that will tell you to question everything, just not their conspiracy theory about COVID vaccines, because otherwise you're sheep, slave to the matrix, something vaguely anti-Semitic. It's kind of insane to me that all of this is sort of really going on.
It's bizarre that most of them are millionaires as well.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Who would think there's so much money in this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I should have been doing this like 3 years ago. That's what I should have been talking about. I could probably buy a house in this current market. Actually, no. I'll probably get like a 1-bedroom semi, something like that.
Outside of London.
Outside of London. Probably outside the country.
Yeah.
It's a little rural island off the coast of Scotland. Like, I don't know, you know, it's a bit of a commute, but, you know, we can... When did you realise you can make it in music?
I'll let you know when I have. I don't know. I don't think I have. I don't think the feeling of having made it will ever happen. I think that this is something I learned, you know, being an actor as well, is that you never feel secure in the job that you have because you could always lose it. That's something the pandemic, I think, taught all of us as well, is that no job is secure. And I learned sort of very early on that the idea of an industry ladder doesn't exist. Like it's more like up and down and up and down, and you'll have periods where you don't get anything for a while. You'll have periods where you do get some things for a while. It's really nice, and then you go. I think the key is to keep the creative cogs whirring, whatever you're doing.
And so, how do you keep the creative cogs whirring?
Making videos, writing music, keeping as drawing, sort of writing things.
Just kind of keeping as creative as possible.
Exactly.
So when you get called into action, like you're raring, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You don't need to do like an intense pre-season.
I mean, I earn like nothing on like some of the video stuff. So I just it is more for my creative fulfillment than anything else.
And how, when you're producing your stuff, what are people saying about it? I mean, I've seen fairly positive things, but
you mean in terms of like the videos, or
just like in general?
In general, it's been really nice to have to find a sort of a lovely supportive group of people, and I've had some lovely feedback, and it's nice not to have that gate kept.
And I guess sort of when did you start like doing acting, performing arts, that sort of thing?
So I graduated from drama school 2016.
Okay.
And sort of went on to do a couple of quite nice jobs from that. I understudied a West End play, did a Netflix series, an Amazon Prime TV series, but ultimately it's that, and you know, leading to dead ends, and there is no ladder. It's a myth.
So what advice do you give to any aspiring actors and actresses, performing arts people?
I think you've got to be quite tenacious, and you've really got to be quite strong. And I think, you know, if you are a creative person, if you are an actor, you're told this time and time again. You're told it will be really hard. It'll be really hard. And then, you know, the general response is, yeah, I know, but I'm special. Like lots of people, everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks, yeah, but I'm different. I will. And the truth is not everyone does. And that's fine. As long as you're creatively fulfilled and keep going, I think that is the key. Just keep going, get a job. And have a hobby and work on other things while you sort of do this.
The get a job argument is always quite funny to me, especially on TikTok, when people like comment like get a job, and then it's like this is what I do. Like, you guys have like ratioed me into employment, so thank you for that. And I guess like producing political content, you must get some absolute corkers with comments.
I do. I've had some strange people. I've had some.
What's the strangest?
Probably neo-Nazis.
Neo-Nazis?
Yeah.
How on earth did you get to a state where neo-Nazis were in your comments?
I did a stitch where people were. It was a bizarre trend that was going on TikTok where people were talking about features of like the German nose, and I did a stitch with that going, and I just got sort of targeted and had weird interactions. Well, yeah.
What was your weirdest interaction?
I think it was. It was the comment, "Don't worry, he looks like he's been vaxxed, so he's probably not long for this world."
Oh, we couldn't be having that. With all those sort of comments, how do you deal with it?
It's easier said than done, I think, sometimes, isn't it? You must get stuff like that. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, I get a fair bit, and I think this is what I always say to people, because I'll get DMs from people saying, I'm like, people who are other creators who are saying that they're receiving abuse and stuff like this. And the thing is, I don't actually know how much help I can give, because, you know, I'm a straight white man. Like the abuse that I receive is going to be very different to what, say, a black woman is going to receive, say a trans person is going to receive, or just like any woman in general. So when people say, like, I don't actually know what advice I can give, like the basic stuff, like try and ignore it, block people, report stuff if that works. But when certain things are being said, I haven't experienced that, so I don't know what it's like to deal with it. So I always try and point people in the right direction and say, speak to so-and-so, because I know that they'll have some advice about this. Yeah. And I think it's just acknowledging that, like, you can't always help everyone as much as you want to. It is just kind of one of those situations.
Yeah, sometimes it is like trying to talk at a wall.
Yeah, no, and I find that, especially talking with Tories on TikTok, sometimes I'm trying to explain like certain things, like they don't give a shit about you, and they're like, yeah, but this, and it's like, shut up, man.
Yeah,
like, dickheads.
Yeah,
but producing political content, that's always like quite a minefield to enter. How have you sort of found it?
It is. I describe it as that, a minefield.
Yeah.
It is, and it's like I was saying before, I do it because I want people to interact. I want people to understand politics, and I want people to always operate from a place of empathy. And I think that's crucial.
I guess with sort of doing this, it's kind of like everyone kind of wants you to pick a side. In a way, I think when I first started, I tried to be as impartial as I could. Yeah. And then I think I kind of got like a month in when the Tories had voted to starve kids, and I thought, nah, not really. Yeah. Can't do that anymore. And I guess that's kind of the thing, is like the whole joke that like you can't really no one can be a centrist these days, and it's like, why would you want to be?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is. Yeah, but it does seem as though the opposition is heading that way.
Are you concerned about that?
Oh, I don't know. It's so difficult because I don't have the answer, and it's like I can certainly understand the strategy to an extent, but I am very tired of playing the game of assuming that they're saying one thing and meaning the other, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. I guess I voted for Kier Starmer to be leader of the Labour Party, and I think I voted for him because I followed him quite closely during the whole Brexit saga, and I thought,
and he was very vocal.
Yeah, it seems like the right person to go there. And now it's like everything I hear him say, it feels really insincere. Like the only thing I can tell he's really passionate about is football.
He's genuinely passionate about it.
Even then, it's like, is he really? Like, is he genuinely there? I don't know why. It's just like one of those ones.
What I find so funny about that is that he clearly loves it. He loves football, but he goes into just such unnecessary detail about how he loves it.
That's just like people who like football, though. Like, it's just like one of those things. I love football, and I'll be talking about it at certain points. My father will just look at me like, "What are you fucking on about? Like, why are you talking about the tilt or something like that?" He's like, "You sound like an absolute dickhead." Like,
yeah.
Or my favorite is who's that? Like pointing at some random player, and I'm like, Papa, that's so and so. And he's like, oh yeah. I introduced him to illegal streaming the other day.
Did you really? What site? Oh wait, are you allowed to say?
I'm not going to say. I won't say. But like, I always remember, like, it's kind of like, you know, when you probably found this with your parents introducing you to music, and it's like this like fascination that you have. Oh my god, it introduced this whole new thing. It's like that was illegal streaming sites with football. We're removing that bit. We're not talking about that. get my door kicked down by the police or something. Yeah, I know. That would be the day. If they actually turned up on your doorstep to deal with a crime.
It's a deep state conspiracy, mate.
No, they're out to get me.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I need to start. When I start talking about that, guys, you know that something dodgy is going on with me. What do you think is like the biggest issue in the UK at the moment?
I think the Tory party is the biggest issue. I think we need to get rid of them. I also think environmentalism, especially the recent rollback.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
That was terrible. It was really terrible. I noticed that I think Ed Miliband was quite vocal on it and said we will push it back to 2030, but I didn't see much report of that in the media. But why would they? Because it's Ed Miliband.
Yeah, I saw it on the BBC and the Telegraph, which I thought was interesting that the Telegraph would cover that sort of stuff. But with the whole net zero thing, I've kind of found with net zero is that polling suggests that the public is in favour of net zero.
Yeah.
And then when the people talk about the price, it's like, well, it's an investment. So like it is expensive, but like the investment will obviously pay off over time. If your energy bills are coming down, if homes are being insulated. The thing with like the car industry, for example, and they were saying that they were really annoyed with the government. It's not because they care about the environment, right? It's just because they've invested like billions into electric vehicle developments. And then the government's like, yeah, about that. Like, we're not going to be extending it, but like, it just feels so shitty. I guess it's just one of those.
It's awful. Yeah.
And we kind of have to suck it up. We need to. I hate sounding like a bleeding heart liberal, but it needs to be more like the French. And then
Right.
Just Stop Oil sit in the middle of the road and like suddenly we're calling for death squads.
Yeah,
It's I love that. Talk about Just Stop Oil. That's another one. If you talk about them, you get so much abuse from people.
Really?
Yeah, I did a video, and you know what I find? I don't know if you've ever found this. Like, you post a video, it doesn't really get much engagement, and then like a week or so later, a couple of days later, suddenly something like gets it's either reposted or it picks up, and then before you know it, you've got like follically challenged men in your comments calling you a cunt.
Yeah.
And one of this was on like a Just Stop Oil video, to the point where I was looking at the comments like, I'm going to get ratioed.
It's
like,
that is odd, isn't it, that they're pushing it out to specific. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just, and then you try and explain it to certain people like, who aren't involved in TikTok, and you can just kind of feel like nodding head going, get a real job.
I should say, and I'm Just Keir. It was my partner gave me the idea when they mentioned the meter of the I'm Just Keir.
Yeah. I liked that. I liked that song. I found it really. I think the fact that you did like the whole music video as well.
Yeah.
So where are you recording that?
Just in my kitchen.
In your kitchen
with a green screen. Yeah.
Beautiful, amazing. Pete, before you go, is there anything that you'd like to promote and talk about?
Keep an eye on my Spotify for new music on its way, new videos on its way, and as ever, thank you for supporting me.
Anytime. And to all of you listening at home or wherever you are, thank you so much for engaging, and we'll see you for the next episode.